Friday, and this one is a special conversation because we are talking about the election, which will take place on June the 22nd. Early voting will begin very soon on June the 10th, I believe, as we prepare to choose a mayor, a comptroller, DA in many boroughs, as well as our many city council seats. So we've got a lot of work to do here in New York City. And so I'm grateful today to have as a guest in conversation with us, Sister Nicole Yearwood from Rank the Vote NYC. Hello.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Thank you
Thank
and
you for
welcome to
having
the
me.
Greater Allen Cathedral. Amen. This COVID world has caused us to do things differently, but we're grateful to be able to have this conversation because we know that we are truly up against a very pivotal election in our city's history and for the future of this city moving post COVID-19. We know how important it is, and so with this new update around voting, it was incumbent upon us to have this critical conversation so that we know how to use our power at the ballot box, how to use our power at the polls. The power of the black vote is so precious, so serious, and that's why we're seeing attacks around the power of the black vote across this country. And so we have a new way to vote in New York City election. And so Nicole will take us through this as we walk together to see how we can make it happen. So Sister Nicole, the floor is all yours.
So, good evening. Thank you so much, Reverend Green, for having me. And of course, to the Greater Allen Cathedral. Definitely appreciate all the work that you do in the community, what you have done, and what I know you will do in the future. So, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to educate people about ranked choice voting. So, we're going to go through. We do have a mock election that I'll be able to show you. So I'll show you that as well, and then go through the presentation. And then at the end, Reverend Green, if you have a few questions or if you think there's something you didn't quite understand or you think, the congregation might want more information on, feel free to ask me at the end and we can discuss it. Okay, you ready? So, a quick recap on the upcoming elections and some changes. So, how did we get to ranked choice voting? So, in 2009, there was a very costly and low turnout runoff election for the office of public advocate and comptroller. At that time, it prompted a debate over the use of runoff elections. So, a runoff election was done if a citywide candidate did not receive 40% or more of the vote in the primary election. In 2010, then Councilmember Gail Brewer introduced the first ranked choice voting bill in the New York City Council. In 2010 and in 2018, the New York City Charter Revision Commissions explored the idea of using ranked choice voting for local elections, but decided more time was needed to make a decision. In 2019, the New York City Charter Revision Commission decided, basically, they voted 14-1 to place ranked choice voting before New York City voters. It was actually a referendum on the November 2019 general election ballot, and 75% of voters voted in favor, so it passed. And at that time, it was scheduled to begin in 2021, and now we're here. So, why are we here? With the conjunction of the robust campaign finance system that we have in New York City and term limits, it led to a wealth of diverse candidates stepping up to the plate to run for office. We'll be electing more than 30 of 51 new council members, 4 out of 5 borough presidents, a new mayor, a new comptroller, as well as a public advocate being up for re-election. Under the former system, we would definitely risk splitting the vote with so many people running for office. Previously, a city council person could run and be elected basically with a plurality. Whoever received the most votes was the winner. But that also means at a time like this, when there are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people running for city council, someone could win with 20% of the vote. And that would mean 80% of people voted for someone else. So what's changing? As of right now, in our local primary and special election for the offices of city council, borough president, public advocate, comptroller, and mayor, these are all ranked choice voting elections. Now, voters can rank up to 5 candidates, including a write-in. Runoff elections are eliminated, and candidates will need at least 50% of the vote in order to win. So they will need a majority to win an election. Election day is June 22nd. The last day to register passed. That was May 28th. Early voting begins June 12th and runs through June 20th. And the last day to change your address was June 2nd. So what is ranked choice voting? So now let's get into it. On the right, we see a sample ballot. It has 5 columns. The first column is your favorite. The 5th column is your least favorite. So we say that in your first column, you mark the candidate that you love. But if you don't know anyone on the ballot, you may not love any of the candidates. You may not like any of the candidates. But what does this mean? This is a candidate who aligns with you on the issues that you care about most. They share your values. How do you feel about housing? How do you feel about the services your community receives? Transportation, employment opportunities, etc. What is your position? You find that candidate that aligns closest with you, and that is your favorite candidate. It may be a candidate you give a donation to. It may be a candidate that you volunteer for. Excuse me. You may even tell your friends and family to vote for this individual. That is your first choice candidate. And we see in this example that that person is in column 1 and they are candidate C. So you see here the first choice column, and we see here they shaded in the oval that corresponds to candidate C. Then you have your second choice candidate. Now this is the candidate that you like, right? This is the candidate that is basically a backup to your first one. They may not check off all the boxes like candidate 1 does, but they check off many. But for some reason, you just don't like them as much as you do the first one. So that's your second choice. And that's candidate B. And we see here they're marked in the second choice column in the row that corresponds to candidate B. Then you have your third and fourth choice candidates. You like them less than the first 2. They may not check off all your boxes, but they check off some or most. And so you have ranked them third and fourth. And so you identify those candidates in the third choice column and in the fourth choice column here. And we see here that that is candidate E and candidate D respectively. Then you have your 5th choice candidate. And we say that's a candidate that you can stand. Now that means, again, they don't check off as many boxes as your first 4 choices. They may agree with you on some things, but not all things. But you know what? If something happened to your first 4 candidates and that 5th choice was to be elected, they would represent the district well. And that, for these purposes, is candidate A. And so now we have a video that actually will also give you another example of how ranked choice voting works.
Hi, I'm Mahir, and welcome to my bodega. As you may know, New York City has a new way to vote in special and primary elections. So, how does ranked choice voting work? The next time you vote in a city election, instead of choosing just one candidate, you can rank them all from your first choice to your fifth. Here's how it works. Let's say my bodega is picking its featured snack of the month. So many choices. Which one should I feature? This customer ranks Parker Pretzels as her top favorite. She also ranks her second choice, Mr. Chips, third choice, Chi-Chi Chicharrones, fourth choice, Gladys Gummies, and fifth choice, Poppy Popcorn. Other customers rank their choices as well. If Parker Pretzels is the favorite choice and wins more than 50% of all the first ranked choices, then Parker Pretzels is the winner and is featured as the snack of the month. However, if no snack gets more than 50%, then the least popular snack is eliminated. Sorry, Figgy Bars. The remaining second-ranked choices from customers who chose Figgy Bars are redistributed. So if customers chose chips and chicharrones as second choices, then those two snacks receive additional votes. The new totals are counted and the process repeats until there's a winner of the final two. Congrats, Poppy Popcorn, you're the bodega snack favorite. Back in the real world, before it's time to vote for humans, visit rankthevotenyc.org for more information. Thank you, New York City, for voting and for making these special and primary elections your elections.
So what is your ballot going to look like? So some of you may have received your absentee ballot already. You may have also viewed your sample ballot, which you can do on the Board of Elections website. But this is just going to be important to remember. The ranked choice voting elections are going to be kept together. Now, I do know that because of the number of candidates in some elections, they may be on the back or the front of the page. Ballots are also going to be 2 pages, but it's going to be clear that the ranked choice voting elections are going to be a little different from the non-ranked choice voting elections, because you're going to see the columns here with options available. So you see here, first choice through fifth choice for the races. And of course, because there are only 3 candidates here, you see first through fourth. But you'll be able to know the difference because, again, you'll see this first through fifth option. So you'll have multiple opportunities to shade in ovals. And that's how you'll be able to tell the difference. So again, let's say my favorite candidate for mayor is Emerson Brooks. That's my guy. I'm going to go in this first choice column. I'm going to look for the row that corresponds to Emerson Brooks's name. And I'm going to shade in this oval. Let's say that Tegan Kelly is my backup. Just in case something happens with Emerson Brooks, he doesn't stay in the race, I'm going to go to Tegan. I'm going to the second choice column. I'm going to shade in the oval that corresponds to Tegan's name in the second choice column. And then I'm going to continue with this, my third, fourth, and fifth choices, respectively. So the counting of the rounds aren't going to happen until all the ballots are counted. But before we go to this, I'm actually going to show you the results of a mock election. So here we have a mock election, the historic Black leader who you would like to see on the $100 bill. So we ran this election, and the election received 445 votes. So again, thinking about ranked choice voting, now a candidate needs more than 50% or a majority of the votes to be declared the winner. So 223 votes are required to win this election. As we can see here, no one has 223 votes, but round 1 of 8. So just to be clear, round 1 is actually a tabulation of all of the first choice votes. So this means they looked at all 445 ballots and they said, these are the first choices of everyone who voted in this election. So now we're going to go to rounds because no one has the 223 needed to win. So what does rounds mean? Going rounds means that the candidate in last place will be eliminated and their votes will be redistributed based on the second choice votes of those who voted for this person first. And so now this will happen until we get to the top two candidates. And this will happen as well in our election. It will continue to tabulate until we only have two candidates left, even if someone reaches a majority before that time. So, for example, Bayard Rustin has 15 votes. Bayard Rustin is in last place. These 15 votes are going to be redistributed based on the the second choices of the people who voted picked Bayard Rustin as their first choice. So again, this is not a general redistribution or a random redistribution of votes. They don't automatically go to one person or top number of people, etc. It will be based on who these 15 people picked as their second choices. So for example, I could have picked Bayard Rustin as my first choice and picked Rosa Parks as my second choice. My vote would go from Bayard Rustin to Rosa Parks. You could have voted for Bayard Rustin as your first choice and picked John Lewis as your second. Your vote would go from Bayard Rustin to John Lewis. And this would continue with the other 13 votes. So let's watch. And so we see here that Shirley Chisholm is the winner with 223 votes. And Martin Luther King came in second place. And we have 18 votes that were exhausted. So what does this mean? This means that only 18 people out of the 445 did not pick Shirley Chisholm or Martin Luther King on their ballot. So just to be clear, the counting of the rounds will not happen until all of the votes are counted. So we just saw what the counting of the rounds looks like in the mock election. If no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote of the first choice votes, that is when counting rounds will kick in. So for example, if Shirley Chisholm would have received the 223 votes required, when all of the first choice votes were counted, we would not have gone rounds. That would not have been a ranked choice voting election. Also, the official winner will not be declared until all of the votes are counted. So with this, we mean early votes, election day votes, affidavit ballots, military ballots, as well as absentee. So now for elections, we won't know who the winner is until 2 to 3 weeks after the election, because absentee ballots can be postmarked as late as election day. The Board of Elections has to wait for those ballots to be returned, provide an opportunity to cure those ballots if there's an issue at all. And so that takes a little bit of time. But just so you know, people will still receive election night results. So there will be a tabulation of the early votes and election day votes on election night as they have been in the past, but a winner will not be declared until all the votes are counted, and then it is determined if someone has or has not reached that majority threshold. They will simply hit a key on the computer and the rankings will be done, the tabulation will take place, and then we will know who the winner is in the election. But on election night, we will still have an idea based on the early vote totals as well as election day totals. And the round by round counts will be released to the general public on vote.nyc, the Board of Elections official website. So why should voters use their rankings? So this is giving voters more choice. You can now rank up to 5 candidates instead of going in and voting for just one. This also gives voters more power because now candidates have to open up their audience. Who are they going to talk to and approach? They can't just focus on, their voters, their only vote. Like they can't just target their voters. What they need to do now is say, you know what? Maybe they need a second to be someone's second choice, third choice, fourth choice, or fifth choice. And so now they have to approach not just their own supporters, but perhaps those of others so that they can receive the second, third, fourth, and fifth choice rankings. Even if your favorite candidate does not win, you still have a say in who is ultimately elected to represent you in that district. You can also vote your conscience without worrying that you're wasting a vote. We all know that there are times when a candidate who may seem less viable than another candidate is running. And if you really like that person who may come across as the underdog for whatever reason, you can now rank them as well as ranking another, quote unquote, more viable candidate. And of course, ranking your second, third, fourth, or fifth choices will never hurt your favorite candidate. So here's some frequently asked questions. How many candidates do I rank? So you can rank up to 5 or as few as you like. You can vote for 4, 3, 2, or you can also vote for one person if you wish. Do I have to use all 5 rankings? So again, you don't have to use all 5 rankings. You can still rank one person and your vote will count. But thinking about the mock election and how ranked choice voting works and the number of people in the races, the number of candidates that we have, more than likely, no one is going to reach that majority threshold in the first round of counting. And in the unlikely event that your candidate is eliminated, if you have not ranked any other candidates, your vote will have no place to go and will therefore be exhausted. So thinking about the mock election, let's say, for instance, Bayard Rustin was your favorite candidate, but you didn't rank anyone else. Once Bayard Rustin is eliminated, your vote would have had no place to go and would therefore have been exhausted. So in order for your vote to stay in play, should your first candidate or your favorite candidate be eliminated, it is imperative that you rank as many as possible. But of course, we never tell you to vote for someone you don't like. Can I rank a candidate more than once? So it actually doesn't help your favorite candidate to rank them more than once. It doesn't supercharge your vote to do that. Because of how ranked choice voting works, your vote only moves from one candidate to the other if that candidate before is eliminated. So in essence, if you give one person all of your rankings, you're essentially sending your vote to someone who has previously been eliminated, because that's the only time your vote goes to another candidate. So again, does it hurt my favorite candidate to have a second choice? So it doesn't hurt your candidate to have a second choice. And goes back to what I was just talking about, even in terms of giving one candidate all of your votes. It doesn't hurt them because your vote only goes from your first choice to your second choice once your first choice is eliminated. So again, thinking about the mock election, if Shirley Chisholm or Martin Luther King was your first choice in that mock election, then your vote stayed with them the entire time because they stayed in the race the entire time. Your vote only moves from one candidate to the next if that first candidate is eliminated. And so just some key things to remember: ranked choice voting is in effect right now. You can rank up to 5 candidates in our local primary and special elections for the offices of mayor, comptroller, public advocate, borough president, and city council. You can also still vote for one person if you like. Ranking your vote you don't have to worry about wasting a vote. You actually don't have to worry about accidentally supporting a candidate that you don't want to. If you don't like someone, don't rank them at all on your ballot. You also don't have to worry about splitting a vote. If there are several candidates you like in an election, you can rank them in order of your preference. And of course, now moving forward, candidates for these local offices will be elected with a majority of the support from the district. They will be a consensus candidate. So this is our contact information, which you have. And with that, I will conclude.
Awesome. Wow. That is a wonderful overview. I have learned so much. I did not know that you do not have to vote for five. So that's good to know. You can vote up to five,
Mhm.
and that you don't have to vote for just five. So if you vote for one, your ballot won't be thrown out, but you can
Exactly.
make additional choices. I think that this is a new process, but it gives us an opportunity to to make a decision around all candidates, right, who are in the race, and really find the top ones that our meet us where we are, meet our desires, meet our needs, and connect with our future and vision for this city. So we're grateful for this time, this conversation. This was very helpful. I mean, extremely helpful to be able to think through what happens next, and so say my top candidate is not chosen. Thankfully, I chose and selected someone at two who I can live with, right? And because I use my power, I can decide for myself where the future of the city goes. And I think folks who are watching tonight, please know that you do have the power to decide the future for this city and to make a decision that is best for you. Sister Nicole, thank you so much again for this time and for this presentation. And we look forward to more conversations with you as we look towards this election and beyond, because this will not just be the only election around Rank the Vote. And so it is here with us. It is here to stay. And so we might as well get used to it. And so I just want to thank you again for taking the time out to do this.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry, I was having a little tickling issue in my throat, but I apologize. I hope was seamless. My presentations are usually
Yes,
very seamless.
it was
But thank you
wonderful.
so much for having me.
Thank you again. We appreciate it. And we'll see you all next Friday here on Freedom Friday.